Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right in. Today we're unpacking a massive biological mystery that's literally affecting millions of us. We're looking at exactly why, across the board, our collective libido seems to just be dropping and our hormonal health is completely crashing. We're going to examine the very real, very physical saboteurs that are hidden right inside our daily routines.
So what is silently killing your sex drive? Yeah, it's a heavy question, I know, but the answers, they aren't just all in our heads. The primary suspects that are disrupting our reproductive health, our hormones, and our energy, well, they're actually hiding right in plain sight. We're talking about our pantries, our packaging, and even our daily schedules.
Okay, here's our visual roadmap for this investigation. We'll be covering the modern hormone crisis, dietary drive killers, hidden endocrine disruptors, the stress connection, the gender data gap, and finally, reclaiming your health.
All right, let's dive into Section 1. The modern hormone crisis, a biological system overloaded.
Look, our biological systems are just totally overloaded right now. And conditions like diabetes and metabolic syndrome, they are deeply intertwined with our sexual health. A massive driver of this whole crisis is ultra-processed foods, or UPFs. You know the ones. They're cheap, convenient foods packed with industrial additives. In fact, the source material points out that these UPFs now make up nearly half of the average Canadian diet. Half. That means 50% of what people are eating is literally crowding out the nutrient-dense whole foods our bodies actually need to thrive, completely replacing them with empty, inflammatory calories. To really grasp the sheer scale of this problem, just consider the biological toll here. Men with diabetes are 3.5 times more likely to develop erectile dysfunction. 3.5 times. Why? Because chronic high glucose levels from these poor diets physically damage the essential nerves, the muscles, and the vascular structures required for a healthy sex life.
Moving on to Section 2, Dietary Drive Killers, Sabotaging Blood Flow and Hormones.
So what are the everyday foods acting as the primary suspects in our investigation? Well, we're talking about microwave popcorn, fast food, sugary sodas, commercial baked goods, and processed red meats. These foods actively destroy the production of nitric oxide in your body, and they crank up oxidative stress. Now, nitric oxide is absolutely crucial. It's the exact thing that allows your blood vessels to relax and expand. When you're consuming these items regularly, you're making it incredibly difficult for blood to flow to the reproductive organs.
And the biological reaction to this is just staggering. Get this, eating sugar can cause a man's testosterone levels to plummet by up to 25%. A quarter of your testosterone just gone. And it doesn't bounce back instantly either. Those levels can stay suppressed for up to 2 whole hours after eating it. So if you're drinking sodas or snacking on sugary treats throughout the day, your testosterone is basically taking a massive constant hit.
We can really think of this as a double whammy. Things like fast food and trans fats don't just spike your insulin and cause unwanted weight gain, they also trigger chronic inflammation. And that inflammation directly interferes with your hypothalamus pituitary gonadal axis. I know, it's a mouthful. But basically, that's the very system that regulates your natural hormone production and your reproductive health.
Which brings us to Section 3, Hidden Endocrine Disruptors, the invisible chemical threat.
Now here's the really scary part. The danger isn't just in the food itself, it's also in the chemicals the food is wrapped and preserved in. Endocrine disrupting chemicals, or EDCs, are synthetic compounds like BPA, phthalates, and parabens. They literally scramble your body's delicate signaling systems by mimicking or blocking your natural hormones. For instance, the source material notes that common preservatives like propylparaben, which is frequently found in baked goods, can actually act just like estrogen in the body. This artificial estrogen exposure is heavily linked to earlier puberty, menstrual changes, and reduced fertility.
And these hidden chemicals, they have very real consequences for female health conditions. Research actually suggests that UPF-driven inflammation, combined with these EDCs, likely exacerbates complex conditions like polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS, and endometriosis. To put that into perspective for a second, each of these incredibly painful and disruptive conditions affects roughly 10% of people with ovaries. That is a huge number.
All right, let's look at Section 4, the stress connection, running from the tiger.
So we're shifting our focus now from what we eat to how we live, specifically targeting the completely devastating impact of chronic, modern-day anxiety on our sex lives. To really understand this, we use the tiger analogy. Picture this. In a normal, relaxed state, your body happily produces sex hormones and sends abundant blood flow to reproductive organs. But when you're stressed out, your sympathetic nervous system activates a fight or flight response. It's literally acting as if you're running from a tiger. Biologically, your body diverts blood to your muscles and brain to help you survive. It completely shuts down vaginal lubrication, erections, and the production of testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. Simply put, you can't make babies if your body thinks you're running from a predator.
And this constant state of stress leads straight to the ultimate sleep saboteur. When your cortisol, the stress hormone, is always running high, it absolutely ruins your sleep. And sleep is the exact critical window when your body manufactures essential hormones for mood, muscle, and libido. In fact, men sleeping 5 hours or less a night experience a testosterone decline of up to 15% simply because they're missing that crucial manufacturing window.
Let's move on to Section 5, the gender data gap. Why were women ignored? This all builds into a massive systemic issue regarding how medical research has historically been conducted. Believe it or not, women have historically been excluded from nutrition research. Why? Because researchers viewed female hormonal cycles as, too messy to study cleanly. As a result, public nutrition advice mostly targets general outcomes like weight and cholesterol. And this has left massive, glaring gaps in our scientific understanding of exactly how modern diets and chemicals impact female fertility, menstrual cycles, and the transition into menopause.
As the researchers perfectly summarize, when women are excluded from nutrition research, their health is left to chance. Food is a feminist health issue. This is a really strong call for inclusive research and much stronger public policies. They point out that while some regions are actually taking action, like Chile taxing ultra-processed foods and the European Union completely banning BPA in food contact materials, many other places are still severely lagging behind when it comes to protecting our hormonal health.
Finally, we reach Section 6, Reclaiming Your Health, Actionable Steps for Balance.
Now, I know that was a lot, but it's really not all doom and gloom. We can totally transition away from these hidden enemies with concrete science-backed solutions. Instead of processed foods, start incorporating whole foods. For example, bananas provide high levels of potassium, which actually promotes better blood flow. And oysters, they deliver essential zinc to support testosterone. Also, definitely swap out those plastic containers for glass or stainless steel to avoid those sneaky EDC chemicals. And instead of letting chronic stress run wild, try utilizing mindfulness, breathwork, or meditation. Medical experts and our sources actually note that meditation creates healthier, brand new neural pathways in your brain to physically manage and lower that stress response.
So, here is your simple 3-step formula to reverse this biological chain reaction. Step 1. Ditch the UPFs and plastics to cut out the chemical disruptors. Step 2. Cool the body's inflammation through a nutrient-dense diet, allowing your blood vessels to function normally again. And Step 3. Quiet the mind to lower your cortisol. By doing this, your body naturally restores its blood vessel function and completely restarts the engine on your hormone production.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought today. Will you continue feeding the hidden enemies of your hormones, or are you ready to take back control? The science is incredibly clear here. Every single meal, every storage container, and every night of sleep is an opportunity to optimize your health, boost your energy, and reclaim your drive. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Now go take a much closer look at that pantry.